Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your weekly injection of mind-numbing local news. This is episode 336. Now we are recording for the fastidious amongst you on Monday, the 3rd of May, a bank holiday. And Rob, is there any news this week? Anything of any significance? I kind of feel like there might be something. I'm not sure.
No, don't think so.
I thought there was something to do with a baby. That was in the back of my mind.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Listeners may have already seen the Facebook post, but we have welcomed our new baby daughter. And when I say we and not Alex and I, myself and Sarah, just to make that absolutely clear, have welcomed our new baby daughter, Lyra Annette, to the world. Amazing.
And I got the chance to see her, Rob, before we recorded, in your arms, and she's a beautiful, healthy, happy baby. And I know that I'm sure the listeners are thrilled for you in the same way that I am, mate. It's just fantastic news, and you are now a father. How does it feel?
Thank you, mate. Pretty terrifying, to be honest. I haven't really made peace with the fact that I'm a father, that I have a daughter. That feels like a lot of responsibility. I think at the moment we are still in this weird bubble. Because I haven't gone back to work, I'm just literally finishing my paternity leave today, which is Bank Holiday Monday. And so normality hasn't really ensued yet, so we'll just have to wait and see.
I have to say, Rob, my only regret throughout this entire process is that, things aren't like they used to be a number of decades ago, quite a few number of decades ago. And by that I mean, Rob, in the olden days, when Sarah's waters broke and she was ready to give birth, you'd have been able to pack her off into a cab, send her to hospital, and we would have still been able to record the podcast rather than have this hiatus we have. And you wouldn't have had to have much involvement in your daughter's life, Rob, right up until really she was 16, and you put her into a cab and sent her off to university and, wished her well. But nowadays, Rob, men, fathers, they do have to do more,
Absolutely, Alex. It's a real sad indictment of the way this country is going. And I thought that once we left the EU, we would have gone back to those days, where the man could just go out and work for his family, and the wife would quietly and dutifully stay at home and look after the kids and provide for the husband. But apparently not.
Rob, aren't we wearing the same T-shirt?
H&M?
Gap.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, okay, let's get on with it, Dad. And is there any other news?
I'll be honest, there probably is. I'll feel in the next episode. It's been a bit of a manic day.
Yeah, okay. Right, Rob, look, I'm really happy because I'm going to start us off this week, before I even get into some proper stories, with a few very short things. With a few very short things, Rob, that I can genuinely say, LA Podcast is back, Rob, with local news.
Great.
Now, I'm worried that you might have some of these, but let's start off, right? So first of all, a story from the Birmingham Live, which for its A in the word Birmingham is they've replaced the letter A with a symbol of a box that says vote on it and a hand with a voting slip going into it. Doesn't really look anything like an A.
That's across all local news at the moment. Anything that's got live on the end, it's across every news website.
All right, well, fine. This is by Charlie Lawrence Jones, who is a reporter, and James Roger, who is a regional content editor. So this tiny story, Rob, they needed not one, but two journalists.
Right.
Oldbury man wakes up to find 7-foot steel penis left outside house as birthday present.
Nope, haven't got that.
It's massive, Rob, I must say. An Oldbury resident has awoken to discover a 7-foot steel penis outside his home, and it's a birthday gift from a mate, apparently.
Right.
Latham Steel Doors created it and delivered it to the Black Country home they have shared on their social media channels. The birthday with surprise was engaged with a happy birthday message and wrapped up with enough polystyrene balls so that when it was opened, it would make a mess to clean up. None of that is a euphemism, by the way.
Right. Good.
It was asked that the steel be galvanised so it wouldn't rust. That's a very Partridge phrase. Should the victim decide to keep it? Despite being more used to making security doors after such a boring and difficult year, the staff jumped at the challenge. Before I keep reading, Rob, I'm going to describe it. It is a 7-foot penis. It's actually I don't think it's very well in proportion because the balls are absolutely huge. The member itself is actually quite stunted, and the helmet is very long and tall.
So it
looks like a rocket ship,
right? So it's not anatomically correct then.
No.
And there's and obviously there's nothing emanating from the crown.
There's nothing emanating from the crown. A spokesperson for Latham Steel Doors says after checking with the customer that the recipient was a friend of theirs and this was intended to be a light-hearted prank as opposed to a vindictive act, we set about getting their requirements. I would have loved to have been in the room for that conversation. How did they prove that this person knew? If I wanted to send you a giant penis and I want to get Latham Steel Doors to do it, and they're like, okay, we need to check, is this vindictive or friendly? I say friendly. How do you prove that?
I think if you want to make it vindictive, there needs to be some sort of inscription on it. Maybe comparing the recipient to the member itself.
Or just fuck you, cockhead.
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
Using a laser cutter, this was then used to cut two identical steel 2D penises, which were slotted together and welded, creating the steel behemoth. It was then all wrapped up and still looking particularly penisy, left outside the recipient Oldbury's West Midlands home. Now, wait a second, Rob. I think this is the only time ever I have or will read the sentence in a local newspaper, still looking particularly penisy.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah.
The spokesperson continued, in the end, our customer told us that the recipient thought it was the funniest gift he's ever received. Our warehouse and design staff had a bit of a laugh, and, at least for a day, the lockdown boredom lull was temporarily received. Whilst this, I think that's meant to say alleviated, whilst this isn't something we'll be adding to our product line anytime soon, we pride ourselves on being able to manufacture and deliver most custom requirements. Now, interestingly, Rob, follow up, the penis was spotted up for sale on Facebook Marketplace a day later for £123. So didn't like it that much then.
Well, yeah, I mean, two things. You've answered one of my questions. I was going to ask what you would do with it, which now it's self-explanatory. But fair play to the individual. I mean, at least he accepted it in good faith and obviously saw the comedy in it.
Okay, Rob, I have a story now from the Leicestershire Live where the E in Leicestershire, the last E before the R, have been replaced by a picture of a voting box with a hand going into it.
Right.
Again, doesn't look anything like an E. This is by Kieran Fagan, crime correspondent.
Ooh, there's a title. I like that.
Man arrested after four...
Sorry, his name is Kieran Fagan.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's just unfortunate. He's the crime correspondent.
Quite indeed. Man arrested, Rob, after 4-mile-per-hour police chase of narrowboat on Leicester's Grand Union Canal for 8 miles.
Stop. This needs to be a sitcom.
Right.
I mean, a police chase involving a narrowboat.
I think Last of Summer Wine might have done it.
Oh, God, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
It ended with somebody falling into the water. It was hilarious.
Of course.
A man has been arrested after police chased his 4-mile-per-hour top-speed narrowboat for 8 miles. An officer patiently followed the boat on his bike along the Grand Union Canal in Leicester to Glen Parva, where his colleagues were waiting in undergrowth and were able to detain the suspect when he returned to dry land to negotiate a lock. This is some operation, Rob.
Sorry.
Paint the picture for us of this, please.
So you're telling me...
Yes.
There was a suspect...
This isn't a BBC sitcom.
There was a suspect making a getaway on a narrowboat that had a top speed of 4 miles an hour. Whilst the policeman on a bike laid chase.
Yes.
Are you telling me that he couldn't have just got off his bike, run up along the canal boat, and just jumped on board? This went on for 8 hours. Sorry, 8 miles even.
8 miles. But what I love is that another set of police officers were waiting in undergrowth at the lock, which they knew this guy would have to negotiate, and sprang on him when the guy from the canal got off to negotiate the lock, and they arrested him. He was arrested on suspicion of assault and breaching a restraining order. The pursuing officer tweeted yesterday, "For 15 years I've been trying to tick off a water-based pursuit in landlocked Leicester, and today I've ticked it off. We waited until he was out of the boat and at Lock 37 on the Grand Union Canal when the trap was sprung by my colleagues lying in wait in the undergrowth nearby." One respondent to the message on Leicester City Centre Police Twitter account said, "I like to think it was like the boat chase in James Bond's Live and Let Die."
It really is stories like that made us start this podcast, because what an exceptional story that is.
Well, that's why I thought, Rob, that after this hiatus, this rather inconvenient hiatus, I thought that we should upon return.
We'll just glaze over that comment there. That's okay.
Yeah, upon returning to LA Podcast, we really needed a shot in the arm, Rob, as it were, of local anaesthesia. And, third locally based news story now, Rob. I'm on a roll. This is from the Bristol Live. Now, I will point out that the O in Bristol has been changed to the symbol of a voting box with a hand going into the voting box with a slip.
Yep.
Doesn't really look much like an O, but never mind. Rob, this is brilliant. It's by Tom Bevan. I'm amazed you haven't had any of these, Rob, but credit to me with my research this week.
Yeah. No, I'm again, local news, Alex. And no stories to the Mirror. Amazing. Please continue.
It's back. Okay. Armed McDonald's robber demanded chicken nuggets but fled with sausage McMuffin.
Right. So, hang on. So, in the heat of the moment, did they mix up his order?
It's better than that, Rob. An armed robber raided a McDonald's before demanding chicken nuggets but fled with a sausage McMuffin as it was only serving the breakfast menu. Sorry, we're not cooking those at the moment, mate.
I'm really sorry. I know they came here with a purpose, but unfortunately, you are limited to what's on the menu currently, unless you're willing to wait until 10:30, and then we can see what we can provide. So had he gone to actually rob the place?
Yes, I'll get into that in a moment, but I wanted to ask you a question, Rob, while I've got you here on the topic of McDonald's. I went to McDonald's on Saturday, drive-through. Had a Big Mac meal. Now, my issue with McDonald's is I always get the Big Mac meal because I really like a Big Mac, but it means I never really taste any of the other things. And I know that you're a connoisseur, you buy all the specialty burgers, you know everything. So this Big Tasty that's around at the moment, I've never had one.
Yeah.
Describe it to me in comparison to like a Big Mac. Is it more like a traditional burger? Is it like a thicker patty? Will it feel more like a proper... I mean, I know it's not going to be like a Byron burger, but come on, tell me about the Big Tasty.
Well, the Big Tasty, it's been a while since I've had one, but it's a larger patty. The burger's a lot wider for a start.
It's more like a Whopper.
Yeah, but just imagine, Alex, we're talking a significant width here.
Oh, right, okay.
And also it has a combination, I think it has a special sauce as well. I'm not a massive fan of the Big Tasty, I'll be completely honest.
Right. What's your favourite burger at McDonald's, Rob?
Well, this is going to sound really dull, Alex, but when I go to McDonald's, I usually tend to favour the chili chicken wrap. Sorry, the sweet chili chicken wrap.
But if you were to get a burger, what would you get? Are you a fan of the Big Mac?
I do like a Big Mac, yeah. I think it probably would be... It would either be the Big Mac or the quarter pounder with cheese, personally.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's hear about this robbery, Rob. Rudy Batten, 22, had already raided a takeaway the night before, fleeing with some fried chicken. Yes, you heard that right.
No, hang on. This sounds like he's just going there for the meals. It doesn't sound like he's trying to rob the place.
Well, Rob, that is Rob. No, he did. He robbed them of their fried chicken.
But this is what I meant. I mean, did he go... See, this is what I was trying to allude to. Did he go there trying to rob the till, but at the same time realise, well, I may as well get a meal out of it, and then ask for that on the side?
No, he wanted free food. He never thought to ask for the money as well.
Right.
The next day, he went to McDonald's and took... Okay, no, I'm wrong. The next day, he went to McDonald's and took £50 in notes from a till before holding an imitation firearm to the head...
Alex, you shouldn't be laughing at that.
Rob, this is brilliant. He held an imitation firearm to the head of the store manager and led him to the safe. Now, Rob, do you think that imitation firearm was really shit?
Oh.
Imitation firearm could be a whole lot of things. It could have been a potato he was holding. But do you think it was actually like a good quality imitation?
I mean, I obviously I would love to think it was like a potato gun or something like a spud gun, or even a water pistol. But as we know, Alex, both you and I are fans of BB guns, and some of those could look quite realistic.
Well, some of them could look incredibly realistic, yeah. So let's paint this story then again. He goes to McDonald's, he takes £50 in notes from a till, and then he takes out an imitation firearm, plants it on the head of the store manager. What a scene this would have been. You don't normally get stories like this in the UK. And led him to the safe. Batten then asked for some nuggets. Rob, I didn't realise how good this story was, right? So he's led the store manager over to the safe. The store manager is like sweating, trying to open the safe. And while he's standing there waiting, the robber says, "Oi!" to the people who work there, "Get me some nuggets." But had to settle for a double sausage McMuffin after being told the restaurant was only serving from its breakfast menu at the time.
I mean, it's an amazingly farcical situation.
Batten was jailed for 6 years at Bristol Crown Court for the raid. Now, can I just say 6 years? You can get less than that for things that seem to me far more serious, can't you?
You can, Alex, but again, I mean, we're talking about 2 armed robberies in the space of 24 hours. And also, just to add, I mean, could you imagine being the poor store manager at that McDonald's having a gun held to your head? You would have no idea whether it's imitation or not.
Do you think he's got? Do you think he shat himself?
I mean, it's a possibility.
What I would have loved is if Rudy had turned up dressed as a hamburglar.
Yeah, just really adding insult to injury, you mean?
Yeah, or I love the idea of somebody even dressing up as Ronald McDonald and going around robbing McDonald's. I'm not endorsing anybody does that, I'm just saying it's quite intriguing. Sentencing him, Judge William Hart said, the staff were clearly terrified, as anyone would be. Yes. It's the last thing people would expect in a quiet takeaway in that part of the country. A chilling aspect of that robbery is the way the gun was held. It's clear the impact this sort of offending has. There's considerable alarm now in the community. A red tin containing £250 in notes, 2 float bags containing £100 each, and a bag of coins was taken. The 7 a.m. raid came after Batten robbed takeaway Miss Millie's in Yate, South Gloucestershire, in the night, where he left with cash and some fried chicken. The court was shown CCTV footage of Batten wearing an Adidas top and bottoms with white stripes, which presumably would also be Adidas. Yeah. Entering Miss Millie's at around 6:20 p.m. on February the 7th. He was holding what appeared to be a black gun in his right hand and a knife in his left, just to cover all bases.
Right.
Presumably the knife was for the chicken.
Maybe.
Batten is reported to have stolen around £200 from the till before leaving with some chicken, returning to his accommodation. At around 7 a.m. the next morning, he entered McDonald's, also in Yate, again holding the imitation pistol. He is reported to have been... He is reported to have said, I'm being forced into doing this. I don't want to do this. What do you interpret by that, Rob? Do you think he's been put up to this by somebody else, or do you think he is having some kind of episode?
No, I think that he is just a tiny cog in the big machine, and maybe that there is a paymaster who's demanding him to commit these crimes.
Would the initials of that paymaster be BK?
What, and he wears an astonishingly unconvincing mask that has maybe a crown, for instance.
Yes, yeah, maybe.
Possibly.
So, shortly before 3 p.m, Batten handed himself into the police. By this time, he'd already been identified on CCTV. A search of his accommodation found the clothes he was seen wearing, numerous coins, and the imitation firearm, which was actually a .177 air pistol that was not loaded with any pellets. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to make sure it's loaded with pellets just in case.
Right, why? For what reason?
In case I need to defend myself against angry staff members who try and overpower me.
Is that not what the takeaway's for? You just throw it at their face?
I would like an air gun to be able to shoot foxes in the night when they're disturbing me. I think that's fair game.
Can I just check, when you say foxes, you mean the animal, and not, it's not a euphemism, something else?
Yeah, I mean the animal.
Right.
Victims' impact statements from members of staff at Miss Millie's and McDonald's were read out in court. One said, any interaction with a customer makes me really tense, on edge and panicky. There have been times where I haven't been sleeping. Another worker said he'd been suffering nightmares and flashbacks and was now on medication. Sorry, can I just say,
did the one before that just say any interaction with a customer leaves me like that? Or just with that particular customer?
Yeah. A statement was also read out from Philip Bolt, head teacher of the Ridge Junior School, just for a laugh, who explained that the doors were locked and all pupils were gathered in the main school building after they received a number of calls from parents. He said, we did not tell the children why we had done this, as we did not want to worry them. All through this period we were receiving calls from concerned parents. I don't really understand any of that. Batten had earlier, I mean, why did they put the school into lockdown?
Alex, because an armed robbery had taken place. And they were concerned for the welfare of the children.
But he was obviously interested in the food. Maybe he would have been... Okay. He said, okay, maybe you're right. Batten had earlier pleaded guilty on 2 counts of robbery, 2 counts of having an imitation firearm with intent to commit an indictable offence, and 1 count of possessing a knife or blade in a public place. Speaking for the defence, Mrs. Martin said the offences were carried out in order to pay back a debt and out of fear of what would happen to his family if he could not. So this is Tory Britain for you, Rob, really. The man's in debt and this is all he can think to do. He's utterly ashamed and embarrassed.
He was trying to please a paymaster. I told you this. He's just the cog.
He is. I'm looking at Miss Millie's right now. We don't have one anywhere I've seen round here, but it looks really nice. It's Miss Millie's Awesome Chicken. Really clean, nice looking shop. Anyway, he's horrified he behaved in this way. He's deeply, deeply sorry. The lack of sophistication, the lack of any disguise are indicative of the desperation with which these offences were committed. He had got himself involved in drink and drugs, and with that comes with the problem of paying for it. He had no way of paying it back. He was really quite terrified about what would happen. Judge Hart also ordered the forfeiture and destruction of the imitation firearm, plus the forfeiture of the stolen money. In light of what we've heard about this guy, Rob, I think 6 years is fucking harsh. But anyway, comments. John Cabot says, if he was being forced, he shouldn't be punished. Need to get to the real criminals here. Shaft 94 says, what if he was being forced into it? Seems unfair. I Feel Your Pain says, him being forced is a fair theory. I know I'd have to be forced to ever go into a McDonald's. Peter Meteor says, I'm loving it. Is he Ronald McDonald's arch enemy, the Hamburglar? We've already made that joke.
Yep.
And Mad Dog says, quotes the article, armed McDonald's robber demanded chicken nuggets but fled with sausage McMuffin. And he simply says, if Michael Douglas couldn't get breakfast at Whammy Burger because he was 2 minutes past the deadline, this guy had no chance. And that, Rob, is a lovely reference to...
Falling Down.
Very good. Right, Rob. I've got so many stories this week and I can't cover them all, obviously. I just want to read you one.
Okay.
From America, and then I will return to do one more later in the episode. Now, I didn't get this from a news site because it's a site called Whiskey Riff.
Alex, where? Okay, yeah, go on.
Who kind of do stuff around country music and stuff like that. They've got a podcast. But I think they keep a bit of a close eye on Twitter about things that happen because the evidence of this happening was from Twitter.
Okay.
Nashville. It's by Aaron Ryan, and the headline is, it's a brilliant headline, Rob. I'm on a roll this week.
Okay.
Man arrested at Kid Rock's bar for removing colostomy bag and swinging it around.
Was it his colostomy bag or was it someone else's?
Well, basically, I'm not going to bother to read out the story, as it were. I'm just going to read the tweets that came out that day. So one was from Nashville Scanner, who said, a man took off his colostomy bag and started swinging it at others in Kid Rock's. Some people have faeces on them. This is the 3rd time I've heard this colostomy bag guy over the past 2 nights. So can you imagine, Rob, you're at Kid Rock's, you're enjoying a nice burger, and a man takes out his colostomy bag, starts swinging it around, flinging shit everywhere.
I mean, and not to talk these people down, but if you're a fan of Kid Rock, this is probably the least that you should be expecting.
What I've just realised, this guy who tweeted this out, he tweeted it out because he listens constantly to police scanner radio.
Oh, really?
So he heard this incident. He says, I don't think I want to be the transport car on this arrest. Where's that hot tub wagon? Some officers may need to take a quick bath. At least one officer is heading home for 30 to 40 minutes to get a change of clothes. This is what he's heard on the scanner. Take as much time as you need. And Kevin Walters, who seems to have been there, tweeted, I am not comfortable being in the same bar with someone swinging his colostomy bag around.
I mean, thank you for commenting, but again, probably not necessary.
Okay, Rob, have you got some stories for us?
Yes, so I've got 2 stories, the first of which is from the Manchester Evening News. And just to say, the W of the news has been replaced by a box with the hand going in with the word vote on it. So that's a bit of fun they've inserted.
Why didn't they put it where the A was or the E was? You just told me, where did you say they put it?
On the W of the news.
But it doesn't even look anything like a W. At least you could pass it for the other thing somehow. Yeah,
but I think it's because it's a wide letter, so they can really get the detail on the hand. This is from, as mentioned before, the Manchester Evening News. It's by Barnaby Calloway and Thomas George, who is the, apparently Thomas George. Barnaby doesn't get a reference, but Thomas George is the Bolton, Bury and Wigan news reporter. It is from the 8th of April, and the headline: Man calls police on mum and friends dressed as dinosaurs in local park.
What? We are on a... What the... Are you sure? Are we both dreaming? Are these stories real this week?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
So, a mum of 3 has hit out a killjoy idiot who ruined a dinosaur park run she had organised to keep kids entertained by calling the cops.
But what's this? Was the justification something about COVID rules, or was he just objecting to seeing dinosaurs in the park?
It was about social distancing. No, he thought they were violating COVID restrictions.
I must say, in the close where I live this morning, a couple of girls who live on the close, who might be about 10 or 11, had set up a marquee and were selling pot plants on a stand. And I had the phone in my hand, Rob. I dialed 9 twice, and I thought I was compassionate. But if it happens again, Rob, consequences will have to be served. Not by me, by the way, by the police.
Well, again, you've already talked about having a rifle and taking pot shots at foxes.
I don't own an air gun, and I think it's probably better that I don't. If you owned an air gun,
sorry, where was that sentence going? It's probably best that I don't have one, because otherwise I would take matters into my own hands.
No, not for that, but no, with the I'm talking about with the foxes. I mean, no, if I had an air gun, I think I would like, we've talked before, Rob, we'd like to both meet up in the woods and, shoot cans together. That sounds like a lot of fun. But Rob, if you had an air gun, would you carry it around in your car?
No.
Of course you would. Would you keep it next to your bed in case of an intruder in the night?
I mean, that's a different question. I mean, I may do. I mean, I think I'd actually have it mounted on the wall. I mean, I would love to have, in have you seen the film? Quite a famous film. The name of which has just gone completely out of my head. This is what I'm talking about, Alex.
Describe it.
No, give me a second. It'll come back to me.
Rob's memory is struggling because he hasn't really been sleeping since the baby was born.
Oh, fuck. I can see the cover of the fucking box. It's about a vigilante superhero. Well, he's not really a superhero. Played by the guy who plays the young John Lennon. Aaron something. It also has Mark Strong. Oh my God, what the fuck is it called?
I've got no idea.
There was a film in the follow-up. Oh, it's just got... I can see the box.
Just tell me the fucking plot. I've got no idea.
Anyway,
what
right.
About.
So it has Nicolas Cage, who basically plays a cop that was forced off this force because of apparently of shady dealings, which were completely untrue. They were completely fabricated by this crime boss, and he literally
I've got 211.
No. Oh God.
The Wicker Man.
What?
Gone in 60 seconds. Bad Lieutenant.
No.
Bad Lieutenant.
It's a good film though, Bad Lieutenant.
Raising Arizona, Dog Eat Dog, Snake Eyes, Face Off, Ghost Rider. And none of these it, Rob?
No.
You're losing your mind. The fuck are you talking about?
I love it as well. It's such a good film. It was written by Kick-Ass, fuck's sake.
Oh, right.
Written by Jonathan Ross's wife. Anyway, you should watch it. It's a good film.
Written by who?
Anyway, Jonathan Ross's wife, Jane.
Yeah, okay, right, yeah.
Let's not worry about that. Anyway, what was I about to say? So anyway, in order to get his revenge, Nicolas Cage has basically adopted this superhero persona with his daughter. His daughter's like 8, I think. Basically, one of the shots is they just turn, you just see this wall, this arsenal that he's constructed on the wall of his house whilst training. Because one of the opening scenes, you see him firing a gun at his daughter and literally taking her off her feet because they're trying out the new Kevlar vest that he's brought for her. What I'm saying, Alex, I'd like to have one wall of my bedroom just covered in a small arsenal of BB weapons.
And you've also just given birth to a daughter, so are you saying that when she grows up, you want her to join with you in this sort of thing you're describing?
I'm just saying, Alex, like the film, I think she needs to become handy with a butterfly knife.
Right, okay.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. You're meant to be reading us out a story. Have we even started? Oh, yeah, dinosaurs in the park.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, because I go back to your comment about, you're on the verge of shopping these two girls to the police. It does surprise me you didn't press that final 9 because I imagine you to be quite a spiteful, vindictive man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, you're right.
So, a mother of 3 has hit out at killjoy idiots who ruined a park's dinosaur run she had organised to keep kids entertained by calling the cops.
But it was a shit idea anyway.
So Samantha Clarkson, 47, and 5 pals donned the 7-foot inflatable outfits on Saturday, April 3rd, while going for a walk at Moss Bank Park in Bolton.
Do you know what was also 7 foot, Rob?
A penis?
Yeah, the penis that was left outside that man's house.
I mean,
what about a penis park run?
I mean, that might cause some offence for different reasons, Alex.
Yeah.
Although I think I'm sure that outfit does exist.
I think you owned it, didn't you, before all your outfits were removed?
Again, why would you bait me with this? I can't mention it.
No, you're right, Rob. We need you on the outside, not on the inside. You've got a daughter now.
Exactly. And plus, that particular outfit was worn at a very specific club. Which, unfortunately, for COVID restrictions, had to close quite rapidly. A lot of fluids. Their eye-catching costumes attracted scores of kiddie youngsters who could be seen watching on in wonder as Samantha and her mates plodded along the park. But laughter turned to tears when a man approached the group and asked if they had a permit before reporting them to the police.
I love it. COVID has given every great killjoy the excuse to really just go to town,
And also, I mean, it's a real dickish move to say, excuse me, I realise what you're doing. I don't think he would have realised, because obviously I think his first question would have been, do you have a permit? Now, I don't know whether... He
should have smuggled them, he should have wrestled them all to the ground and conducted a citizen's arrest.
That's a good point. I imagine that if it continued, he would have done that. Again, he strikes me as that kind of individual. So as a result, Samantha and her fellow dinosaurs, played by husband Dean, friend Deborah and Warren, and daughters-in-law Ella and Emily, were forced to flee the park.
They fled the park. They ran off,
yes.
Did they?
Yes. Yeah.
In the costumes.
Yeah, Alex, they were being threatened. This killjoy come up to them and said, "Look, I need to see a permit. Everyone's calling the police. So you need to make a break for it."
They were being threatened with the COVID Gestapo.
Exactly. Samantha, a childminder, said, "We were having a wonderful time and the kids were loving it. Then we found out some idiot had phoned the police. I couldn't believe it. We were just trying to cheer some kids up after such a miserable year. We weren't hurting anyone." We had no choice but to leave because we didn't want to risk getting arrested, although watching the police chase 6 dinosaurs would have been funny. I think that's true, though, Alex. I can imagine the police chasing 6 dinosaurs would have been as entertaining as that police officer on the bike chasing the canal boat.
Rob, the rules are the rules.
Again, Alex, as far as I'm aware, and I've gone through the government's website, and there's no mention of any dinosaur costumes or congregating in a park.
Okay.
I mean, that bit there is, but not specifically related to dinosaur costumes. Right. Moving on to my next story. Now, I'm hoping you haven't seen this because it's from The Guardian. And just to say, the U from The Guardian has been replaced by a hand putting a voting slip into a ballot box.
Has it? Oh, right.
No, of course it hasn't. That's ridiculous. But I thought I'd just continue with the trend. I'd love if The Guardian had done that for absolutely no reason whatsoever. So this is a news story from Australia featured in The Guardian. It's
the traitorous Guardian, I assume.
The traitorous Guardian, yeah. It's from the 8th of April, but it relates to an incident that happened in 1965. But I really needed to feature it.
Is this to do with an Irishman?
No, it's a Welshman.
Okay, is it to do with being put in a crate and shipped somewhere?
Oh no, have you read it?
I have. I've got it stored as a potential article. I might even have it now for but I haven't read it properly. I just saw it, read the first couple of paragraphs, thought that looks like an LA podcast story.
Oh.
So go ahead.
Okay, so look, the headline is, "Thinking Inside the Box. The Welsh teen who tried to post himself home from Australia."
That's it. But luckily I haven't actually read the story. I just saved it.
Brilliant. Okay. So, a Welshman has issued a public call to help find 2 Irishmen who helped him return from Australia in 1965 by packing him up and mailing him in a crate.
Okay, there's the Irish
Yes.
connection. I knew there was Irish in there somewhere.
So Brian Robson, a 75-year-old from Cardiff, is looking for two men he only knew as Paul and John. Assuming they weren't the Beatles, just to say. I mean, there's no indication that is the case. Robson was a 19-year-old working for Victoria Railways when he became homesick, but the airfare would have cost him about £700 and he only made about £40 a month, he told the Irish Times. So he came up with a stupid plan to buy a small wooden crate and have himself sent as freight.
Sorry, from where to where?
From Australia to Cardiff.
By boat?
I'm assuming it must be air freight, I think. Actually, that's a good question.
I mean, it is a great plan, but
yeah, via plane. Yeah, that's a long flight, Alex. To send if you've confined yourself to a small wooden packing crate, that's not pleasant.
I still think you'd have more room than you do on economy class on EasyJet.
Yeah, that's possibly true. Robson said the quite horrific experience had taken 4 days, and he reportedly been stored upside down. So he actually did this.
I was about to say luck of the Irish, but he's Welsh.
Yeah, so it took him 4 days. Nearly 60 years later, Robson said he wanted to get in touch with the men to thank them and buy them a drink. I'm 99% sure they were called Paul and John, he told the Irish Times.
Sorry. Sorry. Were they the Beatles?
I mean, that's literally the joke I made literally 2 minutes ago.
Oh, Paul and John? Oh, right. So I wasn't listening to that. Okay. Well.
That's fine, Alex. I'm used to it now.
I'll just cut out when you made the joke earlier, and then it will be fine.
Fine. Okay. Paul really was 100% against it, but John said, "Don't worry about it. I'll persuade him." And so they both went ahead and helped.
So were they helping or were they victimising? It sounds to me like they were quite forceful in doing this.
No, Alex, you need to listen to what's being said. So Paul was against it. Paul said, "No, I can't help you there." But John said, "Don't worry about it. I'll persuade him."
I see. Not persuade the guy to be put in the crate, but persuade Paul.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
So where's Ringo in all of this?
I'm not sure he's in the Beatles by this point. It's 1975. Oh, no, he would have been.
Rob, I'm forgetting the name suddenly of the fourth. No, I know. No, it'll come to
George?
Me. Yeah, George Harrison.
Yeah. Again, is that the question you should be asking for right now? We're not even talking about the Beatles, and you're just trying to remember the fourth member of the Beatles.
I thought you said that Paul and John from the Beatles had helped put this man in a crate.
No, I just said there's two Irishmen called Paul and John, and I said I don't know, maybe they're the Beatles. There's no indication that they are the members of the Beatles. It'd also be very strange that they're helping a man airmail himself to Cardiff. And also, I don't know whether they would have been in Australia.
Well, it's during their trippy LSD days, you see, Rob.
But then, Alex, it does take a bit of a strange turn because, right. So Robson bought himself.
No, hang on, before you continue, can we just speculate for a second? What happened to toileting for those 4 days while he was in the box? If you're shitting yourself, which you'd have to, you're going to be stuck in a crate with the smell of your own faeces. You're going to be in a pool of your own urine. Are you seriously telling me he starved himself for 4 days, shat himself, pissed himself in this crate, whilst upside down? No less.
Let me tell you. Robson bought a box the size of a mini fridge and packed it with a pillow, a suitcase, a book of Beatles songs, which seems very ironic considering what we've just been talking about.
Fuck off.
Yep. And 2 bottles. One for water and one for urine.
What about the shit, Rob?
I mean, you just have to keep it in, Alex, 4 days. But then if you're only drinking water, then I imagine your own piss, you're only going to produce one thing anyway, so it's going to be fine.
How do you piss upside down into a bottle, Rob?
Alex, it's one of the age-old questions that philosophers have debated. But I mean, let me put it this way: it's not impossible.
Okay.
His friends, well, you say friends, these two mystery Irishmen.
Can I just say, I think by the end of that trip, that crate really would have looked like a yellow submarine.
No, Alex, it looked like it was covered in shit. His friends then nailed him shut and booked Robinson as a cargo on a Qantas flight from Melbourne to London.
Rob, what was this guy's name?
His name, where is it? Brian Robson. Again, I'm assuming not the football manager.
So hang on a minute. Paul and John from the Beatles packed Brian Robson, the football manager, into a crate.
Yeah,
from Australia to Wales, wasn't it?
The flight was Melbourne to London.
I've got a song idea, Rob. Did you say his name is Brian Robson?
Yes.
Robson in a box with shit. Robson.
I mean, it's not as catchy, but I do like it. Anyway, Alex, unfortunately, the plan goes slightly awry. But their plan came unstuck. The flight was full, so Robson was transferred to a Pan Am flight that instead took him to Los Angeles.
Sorry, what did you say happened to the original flight?
The flight was full, so Robson was transferred to a Pan Am flight that instead took him to Los Angeles.
So they thought this crate isn't urgent. We'll ship. It can go to Los Angeles and then back to Wales or wherever. Fucking hell.
A newspaper report from May 1965, written by Reuters and the Australian Associated Press, said Robson had labelled himself a computer. The then acting Minister for Immigration...
computers were massive back then, of course.
Good point, yeah. The then acting Minister for Immigration, Leslie Berry, said the Australian government would not take any action against him after another MP, Dan McKinnon, called for legal action against this apparently useless young man.
Sorry, Rob, I'm confused. Why were they even talking about this? Was he discovered?
Well, it's not mentioned. I don't know.
Was it not successful? Was it successful then? Are you telling me, did he stagger out of Los Angeles airport covered in his own piss and shit and then just make it in Hollywood? Is that what happened?
I think it's the fact that he arrives at the other end, but I think he obviously circumnavigated Australian customs and customs immigration, because it was just a cargo freight. So obviously he left the country illegally.
I get that. So did he get back home to Wales?
Look, you're skipping ahead. Okay. The Prime Minister, Robert Mackenzie, when asked if custom officials could be looking more closely at outgoing crates, said they could use a Geiger counter, which isn't a Geiger counter for like detecting radioactive materials.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yeah. So in the US,
maybe they think Welshmen are radioactive.
Maybe. I mean, it is Australia. I mean, their views on immigration are not exactly that progressive.
I have to say, it's really tarnished my childhood hearing everything have you heard all these stories coming out about Neighbours recently? I mean, just open racism on sets for like decades. I mean,
I haven't. I mean,
it's been horrific.
It wouldn't surprise me.
It's been absolutely horrific. I watched that show. I loved it. I had no idea. Now it leaves a sour taste, Rob.
Yeah, I can imagine. Look, let me just finish off the rest of the story. So in the US, Robson was discovered by customs officials and then interrogated by the FBI.
Right, so basically Los Angeles, they discovered him. So you imagine prizing open this crate to find a man hanging upside down, covered in his own piss and feces, with whatever is left of a bottle of water, and a book of Beatles songs.
He told the BBC that he looked through a hole in the wood knot in the chest and we caught each other's eye. He jumped back a mile and said, "There's a body in there." After questioning, he was cleared and flown to London on a regular flight before resuming his life in the UK. AAP, which
so they let him go.
They let him go. AAP reported at the time that Robson had to push his way past well-wishers who greeted him at LA airport, and as he'd been stiff and limping when he flew to London. So obviously people had heard the story of what he'd done in LA. So on his flight to London, people had been there as well-wishers, amazingly. Robson said he had written to the men to thank them, but they had never responded. "We got on famously," he told the Irish Times. "They used to come to my bedsit, or I would go and see them almost on a daily basis." That well known, apparently, but he never asked their second names. He then admitted to the BBC that ultimately the crate escapade had been stupid. "If my kids tried it, I would kill them." But it was a different time.
It was a different time, Rob. And right now I am on Amazon and I'm looking at the book Robbo, my autobiography by Brian Robson, who, as you know, will be best remembered as a fearless and inspirational player and captain both for club and country. And indeed, there is a chapter in his book called My Australian Shitbox Journey.
I never realised.
So it is him. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know that about Brian Robson.
No, he's kept that very quiet. I mean, apart from obviously mentioning it in his autobiography, but good for him.
Okay, Rob, look. It is time for our... Oh, okay, I'm going to play a ditty this week. I've been working on since... It's an ode, Rob, for you and Sarah to welcome the birth of your daughter into the world.
Right.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I think something's stuck in here. Sorry. Hang on a minute.
Really?
Right. Yes. Right.
Thank you. How long did that take to compose? Just out of interest.
2 weeks.
Right. Cool. So let's move on to the listener story. It was submitted by Steve this week. It is from the Grimsby Live, and listeners might be interested to know that the M of the Grimsby Live has been replaced by a hand placing a vote in what looks like a ballot box with the word vote on it.
Right. Rob, have we ever had a story from the Grimsby Times before?
Grimsby Live, Alex, not Grimsby Times. I don't know, possibly. I
don't think we have. I think this could be a new paper for us, and that's
quite
always,
possibly.
Rob, another notch on our bedpost, as it were.
Yes, but I recognise the name of the reporter. But I mean, let's face it, we know that a lot of reporters moonlight for a lot of these live websites. So,
what's the name of the reporter?
Paige Freshwater.
We've never had fucking Paige Freshwater before, Rob.
We've had.
I tell you that would have gone on my list. Paige Freshwater.
Yeah, good point. Actually, interesting, Alex.
What a name, Rob. Rob Freshwater.
I mean, that's very nice. Kaiba, when I posted the picture of Lyra on the Facebook page, Kaiba did actually respond to ask whether that name was on our approved list.
No, it's not a list of joke names. No.
No, that is her name. It's not a pseudonym. If anyone... I mean, I don't know why it would be. Anyway, look, that's not the point. Let's go on the story. Right. Anyway, headline. Now, this headline is confusing, but just bear with it. Police set record straight as new claims made about plague doctor chasing after children.
What? Sorry. Is this from the Hamlin Reporter?
Well, it's actually from Humberside, so very close.
Rob, can you imagine in the Pied Piper of Hamlin story, if there'd been a Hamlin Gazette back then, how they would have reported it?
I think it would be very similar to this.
Sicko steals...
Sick pedo steals children after town refuses to pay debt.
Didn't he kill a lot of rats as well?
No, that was it, yeah. So basically, he killed all their rats, they refused to pay him, so he stole all the children.
So sick pedo kidnaps children after rat massacre.
Or sick pedo rat killer. Again, a good punk album.
That's actually a really good punk album.
Yeah. Anyway, right. So Humberside police have issued a statement after new rumours were circulated about a man dressed as a plague doctor chasing after children in Scunthorpe. So the force has been alerted to the TikTok craze about people chasing after children while dressed as crows and plague doctors. However, they say that the region's children have nothing to worry about because they've received absolutely no reports of this happening. So apparently there's a craze on TikTok. Now, I'm not on TikTok because I'm a 37-year-old man. The Humberside Police North Lincolnshire spokesman said, "It's been brought to our attention this afternoon about a craze on TikTok of people dressed up as crows, plague doctors and chasing children. We can confirm that we've had absolutely no reports of this happening in the area," which I don't know whether they need to put that in because that was exactly the previous sentence. "This is something fictional that started on social media platform. The rumours about children being chased in Scunthorpe are completely not true. Please reassure your children." It comes days after Humberside police were alerted to similar rumours circulating against children in Grimsby and Cleethorpes. It was claimed that a plague doctor carrying a knife was targeting children, mainly young girls in Grimsby. These claims have been also dismissed as being untrue. Another social media user said, please be careful. I know some girls have been chased by one of these with a knife. Keep your phone on you at all times. And apparently they're mainly going after girls. Please share this guy. Most of this post is about claims that have been shared alongside two pictures believed to originate from a sighting of a plague doctor in Falkirk in Scotland. But yeah, that's it.
Can I give you a very related story to this, Rob, about what you just said? This is from the Scottish Sun by David Irvine. Not the David. There's a dodgy David Irvine.
I think there is, that name rings a bell.
Holocaust denier. Not him, I assume. 9th of April 2021, Rob. Unmasked. Scots plague doctor sighting in Newton Stewart revealed to be innocent Gran wearing long black coat. Interesting. So Jean Matheson, 64, was left baffled after footage of her walking the streets in Newton Stewart, Dumfriesshire, was shared as another plague doctor sighting. A short video clip shared earlier this week claimed to show another of the creepy medieval figures, but we can reveal the feared spooky sighting was just local Gran, Jean, strolling across the road to visit her sister dressed in one of her favourite coats. She saw the funny side.
Right, okay.
Yeah, she saw the funny side of the mix-up and said, I'm a 65-year-old cool Gran, not Crowman. Police are investigating several incidents of people dressed up in creepy disguise, with the first incident taking place in Falkirk last month, as you said. Further sightings have been reported across the central belt in Bowness, Stirling and Haddington. Granddaughter Siobhan McClymont admitted it's not the first time her Gran has caused locals to be startled on her daily walks. She said, I instantly knew it was her. I was in the car with her friends before and they referred to her as the Grim Reaper. She has been noticed before and called different things. So that's
right.
That.
Okay.
Okay, Rob, that brings us to the end of this week's episode of LA Podcasts. We look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation yet trepidation to our next episode, which will be 337, Rob, as we move ever more forward. So much to choose from this week, Rob. So much to choose from. As we move ever more forward like a man, as we move ever more forward like a man being chased, Rob, on his maximum 4 miles per hour narrowboat in hot pursuit by a police officer on a bike, not realising, Rob, that up ahead of that lock are police officers hiding in bushes, waiting in ambush, Rob, waiting to set up on him. Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode, which will be episode 337. We can be found on our website, lapodcast.net. From there, you can download all of our previous episodes. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/LApodcast. We're on Spotify, we're on Twitter at LA Podcast. Whatever you're listening to us on, whatever podcast app you're listening to us on, please hit subscribe, please leave us a review. We really appreciate all that good stuff. You know the drill. If you want to send us a story, email it to us, lapodcast.net@gmail.com, or tweet it to us, or post it on Facebook, whatever way you want. The email again is lapodcast.net@gmail.com. Right, Rob, it is time for the headlines, which never... How many have you got?
Just 3 from me.
Okay, I've got 5, so I'll start off with 2. Got to cover this, Rob. Came out yesterday evening. Comedian Adrian Edmondson traps himself on window ledge.
Yep, saw that. Brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant. He was cleaning some windows, listeners, and he had to call the fire brigade because he got trapped on a window ledge. I mean, you could... I wish Rick Mail had been around, Rob, alive to have heard what happened to his mate.
Did you? I heard Aid Edmonds saying that the reason he was in the Star Wars film is because apparently the director was a massive fan of Bottom.
Yeah, I told you that.
Did you know? Okay, good. Yeah, thanks.
Rob is suffering from quite severe memory loss. It's been a miracle he's been able to make it through this episode. I don't think he knows who I am, but never mind.
Are you not my therapist?
No. Pennsylvania man arrested for breaking into woman's home and stealing her sex toys.
Oh God! So what's that about the stealing second-hand sex toys? Which anyway. Gender reveal.
We've all been there, Rob.
Well, I'm not disagreeing, Alex. Gender reveal party using
80 pounds of explosives sets off earthquake reports. We've both got the same headline at the same time. That's incredible. Do you want to just tell people briefly what happened? Because that is a great story.
Well, it's just that a man decided to do a gender reveal party using a shitload of explosives, and the blast was so significant it was picked up by local earthquake detectors.
Lovely. Yoga can leave you injured, psychotic, and a Hindu, Christian groups claim.
I read that story. It was quite shocking that people actually genuinely believe that.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Man on mobile phone stopped on M62 before police realised he was making a cup of tea.
In his car?
In his car, he had a kettle, and it was boiling the kettle when they stopped him.
How can you boil a kettle? Did it connect to the...
I think it connected to
Who's selling a kettle that does that? That's dodgy in and of itself, isn't it?
Amazon. Let's be honest, it was probably an Amazon.
No comment. Last headline from me. Rooster fitted with blade for cockfight kills its owner in India.
Do you know what? Amazing. I read that story as well.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Last one from me. Shoppers stunned as 6-foot lizard climbs shelves in supermarket after emerging from canal.
What wasn't the canal where our high-speed pursuit took place, was it?
No, this was in Thailand.
I see. Right. Well, thank you everybody for listening, everybody. We're going to be back in 2 weeks' time with another LA podcast. No Daft Talk for now. We might get round to doing that again when we found an all suitable alternative site for Yahoo Answers. But for now, Rob has a lot on his hands. So we're going to be recording for every 2 weeks. But this has been a very long episode. So we'll try and make sure you get plenty of content when we do release those episodes, listeners. Because we really enjoy making them for you. But we'll see you in 2 weeks' time. God bless.
And keep it local.